Here we have the HP 17-BY4061. And it's an HP. Now I know I give HP a lot of heat on this channel, but I try to be fair and unbiased, so that's exactly what I'm going to do with this laptop. And if you don't want to watch the whole video, I'll just go ahead and skip to the fun part. I actually don't think this computer is all that bad either, but I'm still undecided on if I'd recommend one. I'll think about it as I'm recording. Anyway, let's go ahead and get some specs out of the way. This computer comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM with 2 RAM slots that you can upgrade to 32 gigabytes of RAM. Comes with the 11th generation i5 processor. Comes with a 500 gigabyte NVMe solid state drive, also user upgradable. Basically, you gotta pop the bottom cover off and put in whatever in there that you want. And that all translates to some pretty impressive performance as far as a productivity computer is concerned. It does have the Intel Iris Xe graphics, which are definitely better than the integrated graphics from 10 years ago, but nevertheless, you're not gonna be playing like RDR2 on max settings or anything like that. But let's go ahead and skip into the display here. Skip ahead to the display. Let's talk about the display. 17.3 inches, full high definition. It is a matte screen, and in our measurements, we were able to get about 232 nits of brightness. That means, what all that means is basically if you're like a college student or a office worker, somebody that's working either outside, next to a bright window, bright overhead lighting, this kind of thing, I think you're gonna have a pretty decent experience with this display. It's not like impressively bright, but it gets bright enough, and because of the matte finish on it, it gets bright enough where like you really won't have to worry about not being able to see it too bad. I mean, if you're really working like outside under the bright sun, then you might struggle a little bit, but you get my point. Is that it's not a bad display. Everything is very, very neutral all in, and even though it's an FHD screen on a 17-inch platform, things do look pretty sharp. The whites are pretty white, the blacks are pretty deep. It's not a bad panel. We're gonna go ahead and rate it what did I rate it? I rated it an 8 out of 10. I got a cheat sheet right here. 8 out of 10 on this laptop, and but that rating is based on what it is. You know, when you buy this laptop, you're not getting a 2K or a 4K panel, and you know that before purchasing it. So for what you're buying, it's an 8 out of 10. Not too bad of a start. By the way, this computer starts at about $579, which, we'll get into the value a bit later on. But yeah, just if you were wondering how much it costs, come on down to Charlie's Laptop, used laptop sales, and buy yourself an HP Pavilion for the all low price of $579. I'd give it away, but my wife won't. Now let's talk about the trackpad. It is, by comparison to most modern trackpads, it is quite small. It does have 2 buttons on the bottom, but all in all, it doesn't really ghost too bad. The clicks are pretty decent on the buttons, I guess, and it's not great, but it's a little bit above average. I mean, I've tested some higher end laptops with much bigger trackpads, and they've been a lot less precise. We're gonna go ahead and award the trackpad a 6 out of 10. Usability on it is pretty decent. It's not that frustrating. By all accounts, I've used HPs even that have just had much worse trackpads, so not too bad. Now let's talk about the keyboard. Keyboard has silver keycaps, which is very, very frustrating. It does have a backlight on it, and it does have a full-size numpad on the right side if you're somebody that does like data entry and that kind of thing. But anyway, it does have silver keycaps, which means that the letters on the keys, somebody's in trouble. The microphone pick up on the siren there, which does mean it's pretty hard to see the keys. And I get a lot of flack from people on YouTube that are saying like, well, I don't need to see the keys to type because I'm a professional typist. Well, that's fine. But some people do want to be able to see the keys when they're typing. I think that it's important to see the keys when typing. And this keyboard does make it pretty damn hard to see. And when the backlight is on, it makes it even harder. That said, the keyboard is incredibly precise. I got something about 130 words per minute, and that's definitely a very, very respectable typing pace. It's firm, it feels good, it's like soft but tactile. It is just a very, very excellent keyboard to use, with the exception of the silver keycaps. Despite the silver keycaps, we're gonna go ahead and toss HP a bone and give them an 8 out of 10 on this keyboard, because by all accounts it's exceptional other than the damn silver keycaps, maybe the small function buttons at the top. and it's a little basic in nature, but nevertheless, it's nice, you know, it's not too bad. It's an 8 out of 10, people, just let it go. All right, so now talking about the speakers. One very thankful thing about this computer is that they don't pretend like the speakers are anything that they aren't. They don't have a Beats by Dre or a Dolby Surround or, you know, Bose, you know, advertisement somewhere on this. No, it's just a blank generic laptop with no lies about the speakers, and they get loud enough. They're tinny and they distort when you're listening to like good music. So if you're an audiophile, you will definitely want a set of headphones. But if you're somebody that's listening to like a podcast or just kind of listening back to vocals, maybe radio, something like that, I think the speakers are going to be pretty decent. If you're going to be watching, the viewing angles on the display also are actually quite good. So you could probably watch a movie even with like some friends or family around a table, dorm room, this kind of thing. And people will be able to hear it from these speakers. The volume is impressive enough, but again, there's just nothing there. So speakers get a 5 out of 10. That means that they're average. They don't really sound that great, but they get loud enough and they're usable. So average, 5 out of 10. I think we're being pretty fair there as well. I think if you buy this laptop, you will also agree that these speakers are a 5 out of 10. But moving on. Input and output on this computer. On this side, we have a full-size SD card reader. Nice touch. We have a non-USB super speed port, or it's a USB non-super speed port. You don't need all that super speed power because you're probably going to be putting a mouse dongle on this side. Then you have Kensington lock because everybody uses Kensington lock. And then on this side you have a headphone jack where you'll plug in some headphone. And this also, by the way, this is a TRRS jack, which allows you to do the mic and the headphones all in one. Nice little touch there. 2 USB super speed ports, full-size HDMI for those projector needs, a little talking Ethernet jack, and then of course, where you plug it in. Because it doesn't run on solar energy, so. But we're gonna go ahead and rate the I/O on this thing, probably like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I really wish that they put USB-C on this thing, and we're gonna get into a little bit more of that later, you know, who the computer is for, this sort of thing. But I really wish that they would have done USB-C, but they didn't. I mean, the input and output is actually quite damn good, so I probably should err close. Let's go ahead and say 7 out of 10. But you know, come on, maybe just put a little USB-C in there, guys. It will hamper my points later on, but I'll get to it. So this is actually much better than average. It's not quite what I wish it was, but it's much better than average. It's good I/O. All right, it's good I/O. Let's talk about features. No Windows Hello compatible camera to speak of. There is no Windows Hello compatible fingerprint reader. It does have things like TPM and all this other crap that nobody cares about. But, oh, and also it does have Intel RST, so that means that your NVMe drive in there is running in RAID, which is actually a pain in the ass for computer service shops. Maybe I'll make another video about that some other time, but suffice to say, it does run super fast and smooth. As for the security stuff though, there's really nothing there. It does have a camera at the top. Here's what that footage looks like now. This is the camera quality you can expect from the HP Pavilion 17-BY4061. This is actually one of the better cameras I've seen on a lower-end laptop these days, so Camera's really not too bad all in, and then you've got, of course, the microphones and stuff as well. Comes with 802.11 AC wireless and Bluetooth, so it does have the last generation Wi-Fi in there. For most people buying this computer, I kind of doubt that's really going to be a problem. So I'm not gonna throw down fisticuffs at this thing because it doesn't have Wi-Fi 6 in it. I think for the price, you're actually getting something fairly decent. So feature-wise, we are gonna have to give this thing a 4 out of 10 though, because I mean, it really doesn't have features to speak of. I guess we could kind of air to 5 out of 10 because it's got the backlit keyboard and the full-size numpad, but it just doesn't really have features. So we're gonna go ahead and say we're just gonna say 4 out of 10. Battery life on this thing. We're gonna go ahead and introduce a category here called mobility, which includes things like how easy it is to carry, how good it feels plasticky wise, and damage, how well it will damage, and also battery life, which this thing it doesn't do any of those things good at all. Most 17-inch computers are not going to be great running in and out of an airport with, or for that matter, out of a classroom. There's one exception, and that is the LG Gram. There's actually a couple other exceptions, but computers of the ilk of the 17-inch LG Gram. You know, they're made out of good materials, they're super, super thin, have incredible battery life. This thing, if you are lucky, will get 4 hours of battery life, if you are lucky. It is big, it's hefty, it's kind of an awkward, weird shape. This is, by the way, for all those are curious, that's about how deep it opens up. And you're gonna have a tough time throwing this thing in and out of a backpack, moving in and out of an airport, using it on an airplane tray table. If you're a student, maybe even having it like on your desk in the classroom will be a little bit of a pain in the ass. This thing just does not have mobility to speak of. Another concern that we have is that this is the plastic frame with metal hinges, classic HP setup, and those things are not known for their longevity. This hinge, mark my words, this hinge will break away from the chassis. And then you're gonna come into our shop and be like, hey guys, the hinge separated, is there anything that you can do? And we can slather as much epoxy on it as possible, but it's not gonna do a damn thing. We're gonna go ahead and give that a 3 out of 10 because it's durability, mobility, battery life, it's just not great at all. Last thing, power. We are rating the power on this thing in terms of sort of relative performance, what you're buying it for, and why you might need the laptop, these kinds of things. Let's go ahead and skip over to the little benchmark here. Gaming 18%, desktop 89%, which is colossal, and then workstation 16%. All of that kind of translates to this is gonna be a computer that is very, very good for like nonprofits. Maybe somebody working in an office, maybe an accountant, somebody like starting up accountant college classes, this kind of thing. People that need to be working with databases, data entry. This computer, I think, really will be actually quite outstanding for that kind of thing. It's not really for heavy gamers. You can do some gaming on it like Minecraft, Roblox, that sort of thing, but you're not gonna want to play any kind of AAA titles on high settings. Audio editors could probably do quite well with this computer as well. Because you have the 17-inch screen, it gives you a lot to work with on a timeline. The caveat though is that if you're like an audio editor, USB-C is you kind of really want that these days, and it just doesn't have it. But you do have USB super speed, and it runs in, basically doesn't run as fast as USB super speed can run. It runs, anyway, point is, it's got USB super speed, so you can plug in some microphones, little switch, little processor, this kind of stuff, and it will do okay. So on-site podcasting, audio editing, fine. Video editing, you're not gonna wanna do any kind of like 4K or anything with it. So what you're left with is a computer that is ultimately rated at about a 6 out of 10. And I think that is a very fair assessment of this machine. It is just like maybe a hair better than average, and the price for it is pretty fair. HP's ethics and quality aside, if you're looking for something 17 inches and you just need something kind of brutishly powerful for everyday productivity tasks, Word documents, PowerPoints, tons of Chrome and Firefox tabs, you get the idea, then this computer is really not going to be a bad option at all. So in that sense, I do think I recommend it. And I think that you could probably be pretty happy if you got one yourself. Anyway, please like and subscribe. Please reach out to us in the comment section if you have any questions. We'll be back with another video really soon.